In this tutorial, we're going to create the framework surrounding the idea of creating a membership site for an email list. Basically, someone is on your email list, they're a subscriber, they get access to a portion of your website. When they unsubscribe, they lose access to that same portion on your website. It's kind of a neat framework that you can use to add value to your email list. So let's go ahead and get started. And to do this, we're going to use SureMembers, and we're going to combine it with FluentCRM, or honestly, it can work with whatever email service that you're using. I'll use FluentCRM as an example, and then I'll show you how to use others as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to come into SureMembers first, and we're going to create our access group. That's basically the bucket that we're going to add our subscribers into so that they can get access to content on our website. We'll name our access group email subscriber, but if you have like a fancy name for your membership, that's what you would want to name it here. Then we're going to set protected content. For our protected content, this is going to depend on your website and your membership content. For this example, I think we'll just choose a specific page on our website. Maybe we'll protect our little demo member page that I created. So there's our members page that we'll protect. And what's cool about this is that you could also protect downloads. Let's say that you had lead magnets and you really wanted to create something fancy for your email subscribers to log into to be able to download their special files. Well, here we can simply come into our media library and we can add a protected file. So I've uploaded a pretend file. Let's just pretend it was a PDF or something that we're protecting, and we want this to be protected inside of our email subscriber membership. So that lead magnet has been added to the membership, making it a protected file, so only those who are actively on your list will be able to download it. Now we need to choose what happens for unauthorized access. If somebody who's not on our list tries to access our membership or downloads, we can choose to redirect them to another page on our website. This would be a good way to send them over to actually subscribe and say, you're trying to access subscriber-only content. This is available only to our subscribers. That's a good option, or you could choose to show a message. I think both work depending on your desired presentation. If you just want to use like the default SureMembers interface, a message would do just nicely. We could insert our message. I'll go ahead and type that. So I've gone ahead and populated this with a little message saying the content is for subscribers only, joining is free, click here or click the button below. I added some button text to subscribe to get access. I added a URL, and I skipped over this section here, but let's go back to it. So we can choose if we want this to be in the content. It only works for blog posts, so we're going to leave that off. We're going to leave off enable excerpt. This is more for like if you're protecting specific blog posts and you want to show them a little preview, but not all of it. So that's why we skipped those. Neither of those are applicable. You can enable a login button. I would do this so that if a subscriber were coming from your email list, directly linked from like an email that you sent out, maybe in your newsletter, you link to the resource and say, don't forget to download your resource. They click the button from their email. Let's say they're on their phone and they're usually on their computer. They can't access it because they're not logged in. We're just going to let them log in by showing them the login button. Now we have a couple other options like expiring access, which isn't applicable, and then the option to sync this to a user role. I actually really like this option for our simple email subscriber list membership. That's one of the ways that actually makes it super easy to use with a tool like FluentCRM. So let's actually go ahead and save our access group for right now, and we're going to come back to it in a second, but I want to show you some of the settings, including the user role changes here, in addition to how we're going to bring over some of our existing subscribers. So we're going to go over to settings under SureMembers, and this is going to bring up the section we're looking for. Let's go ahead and look at the import section first. So if we already have an existing email list, something we've been cultivating and growing, let's say we've got like 1,000 members, and we want all of them to get access all at once to our resource, right? Maybe I'm assuming this is going to be a brand new thing that you're creating. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a list of all of our members. We're going to download that as a CSV. They do have a template here that you can click on. I'll go ahead and download it. Okay, so here's our sample template CSV file that they've given us, and there are two required fields. The first one's username, and the second one is email. I'll say something about this process. For this to work, they cannot already be a user on your website. If they are already a user on your website and you've added them from some other mechanism, then you're going to need to do an assignment to your access group by some other means, and that would likely be some form of user role editor, assigning them to the user role that we're going to make. I'll touch briefly on that next, but this is really for brand new users. So we need the username and we need the email that we're going to assign them. For the username, what I would recommend is taking their first name. So in this case, in their template, you can kind of see We'll keep their first name because we want that, but we'll get rid of everything else. In our particular example, we just really want their first name and email as a subscriber. Maybe we had other data, but that's all that we want. If you don't have the first name, that's fine. You can go ahead and delete that as well. So we'll keep our usernames as the first name. One thing I don't want to forget is that there is a SureMembers access group column. We do want to include that as well. If we come back into our access groups on our website here, and we hover over our access group that we created, you can see that there's a group ID. You're just going to want to note that it's 3 digits, so it's easy to remember, or I guess you could copy and paste it if you want to. But we're going to bring that back in, and we're going to put that into the SureMembers access group column so that we can automatically import these users from our CSV directly into our member access group just to make our lives easier. So with that now, we can save this file and import it to our site. All right, let's go ahead and drag over our user import demo here. I'm not going to send a password reset to the users. I am going to send an onboarding email, and I'll show you where that template is in a second, where we can go over this. But let's go ahead and click upload. You'll see that one user was imported successfully, 0 are failed. If there was a failure for any reason, a little more info link would be directly below it, and you'd see like maybe the user existed already or something like that. So that onboarding email that got sent can be edited here under email templates. You're going to find it under the onboarding email, new user onboarding. You'll toggle that on. You can choose from some variables that you want to select. That would be useful, like site URL if you want, but honestly, you can just come down in here and just say something like click here to log in. We could come down in here and we could enter in the login URL, copy that, paste it in. So we have our login URL. You could say click here to log in, something like that. However you want to facilitate this onboarding email people so that they can click on the link and be sent over to the site. In a few minutes, we'll also go over that login experience for our new users for the first time. All right, so let's go ahead. You can save those settings if you want to. Let's also take a look at our user roles, because remember I mentioned that our product was going to sync to a user role. And this is also where we're going to sync any existing members who may already be on our WordPress site. We can create a user role that will allow our users to be just directly synced to the product without any kind of hassle that existing members would have to go through. So this one, we'll just call this one our email subscriber role. We'll click create role. Okay, so we have our user role created. We have a couple other options in here, like our login customizer. We'll come back to this in a second. Let's go ahead and go back into our email subscriber access group. And now that we've got our user role created, we do want to sync this access group to a user role. So let's grab our email subscriber user role, add that there. You can set a priority if you have multiple access groups being managed by SureMembers. Let's say one wanted to have priority of the other, you could put that in there. It's not necessary for me though. So that's it. Now we can just save our access group here. And now anyone with the email subscriber user role is synced to our access group. Now that's going to help us with importing new members into our access group, because existing people on our email list, we imported them with CSVs. We're good to go. They got an email on how to log in. We'll go over that experience in a second. But now if a new member were to join our email list, how do we get them into this access group? Let's hop over to FluentCRM. That'll be the first example. I know many of you use FluentCRM, and it's a popular tool inside of the Convology Plus community as well. So we're going to create an automation, and this automation is going to be how we bring people into this user role to get them access to the access group. FluentCRM does not have any default native integration with SureMembers. Wish that it did, but this is how we're going to do it for now. It's pretty easy to do. So we'll just call this email subscriber access group. And we'll say they're going to get access to this when a tag is applied or a list is applied. Let's just say that you have a normal email list, right? So we'll click continue. If you have a main list, or maybe you had a tag, either of those will work just fine. Okay, now what we can do is we can add an action, and we need to create a WordPress user. And this is how we're going to not only create the user, set their password for them, which we'll talk about later as well with additional options. This might be the easiest way. But what we can do is we can also add the user role here that will sync them to our access group. So what I like to do is here under the create user role section, go ahead and select email subscriber, which is the access or the user role that we created. Now you can say generate password automatically. There's no way to get this to them in plain text. I guess there's security reasons for that. But what I like to do is, I think this might be the easiest way to do it. Yes, security issues, whatever. But you can send them an initial password in their welcome email if you'd like to, and then they can change it if they want. We'll walk through both options. Basically, if you want to generate a password automatically, leave this checked. Your welcome email should tell them, click here to reset your password to log in and access everything. I'll show you in a little bit how to do that under the onboarding email and the password email, etc. But if you want to set a password for them just to make the friction a tiny bit less, again, in 2024, people don't really care about this, but you can set a custom password. What I like to do is use the dynamic variables here with the 3 dots on the right-hand side of the field. I like to make their password just like their first name and then their contact ID, which is going to be like a short little string like 1094, something like that. So it would be like Doug1094. And then, of course, give them the link where they can change it if they want to. And then for their username, I would definitely change this. Otherwise, it's going to make it their email address, and WordPress has issues with aliases, and a lot of people use aliases these days. So what I would say is make their username just like their first name or their full name or something like that. Come up with a method. I'm just going to do first name. And they're never really going to need this, but to me, I still like to set it as their first name. So we've set their user role, we've set their custom password if we choose to give it to them, or we can do it manually or automatically rather, and we're not going to send them the notification email because what we're going to do next, here's where we have some options. We're going to send them a custom email inside of FluentCRM, and we can access those fields right here with our dynamic variables. We could say, here's your password, like here's your temporary password. And then you could just come into these little squiggly brackets on the right-hand side over here. And if you did like first name, you would put in first name. And if you did user ID or contact ID rather, you would do user ID or contact, whatever you chose, you'd put there. And that will generate their password dynamically, like Doug1094. Here you could say like your email to log in. And then you could always just reference it dynamically like that. That might be nice, right? You could say like, welcome, here's the login link to access all the materials, etc. That would be the email that you would send them if you choose to go this route. Okay, so we've created the user, assigned them the user role. We've set a password manually or not. We sent them an email telling them, here's how you log in, here's your password, your email that you use, or here's the link to reset your password so that you can log in. Maybe you've linked them over to the asset that we're protecting in SureMembers or the page. And we've got that user all created. Now we can create another automation. So this one adds them, and we can create another automation that removes them, or we can just use this exact same automation using a goal. So I can come in here under goals and say, wait until a list is removed, right? We used a list to add them. Now we can use a list to remove them. Our removal would be when they are removed from our main email list. And we're going to say, sure, contacts can enter directly to the sequence point. We're going to choose this as essential so that this step is required for processing further actions. And then sure, if they jump in at this stage, that's fine, because the goal is if they reach this goal of the list removed, we're going to run an action that says remove a user role. So we'll choose the remove WordPress user role, and the role we're removing is our email subscriber user role. And now if we remove that user role, they won't be able to log in. So that's our pretty simple FluentCRM single automation that'll handle both adding and removing them from our access group, as well as creating the WordPress user and allowing us to send them a not so secure plain text version of their temporary password, or send them a link, a dynamic link where they can just automatically log in. The choice there is yours, and I'm going to show you some additional options inside of SureMembers. Now, if you don't use FluentCRM, like I personally don't use FluentCRM right now for a lot of my businesses, I use other tools, whether it be Kit or High Level, whatever it is, we need a way to trigger the access group. So we're going to use SureTriggers for this, part of that family of products that SureMembers belongs to. So we'll come into SureTriggers. If you're interested in learning more about SureTriggers, I've got other videos on the channel as well. But let's go ahead and come into our workflows. Let's go ahead and create a workflow. We'll do it from scratch. We'll call this our email subscriber access group. Now we need to think about how we're going to get people into this automation. This is going to depend on what tool that you're using externally. This could be a webhook. This could be a native integration with SureTriggers. However it is, we need to add that trigger. So here it is, right? Like if you have ActiveCampaign, or if you have any of these other email marketing tools that you have integrated, you can just use all of those. or you can use one of the core apps like a webhook. If you're using a webhook, then you're going to need to run a test so you can get the keys to map those. I have other videos on my channel. If you're interested in learning more about mapping webhooks, I'll just do an any tag option here, and we can fetch the data just to see that it works. Your goal is to add your email tool here, and whether it's a tag or a list or whatever your tool particularly uses, that's our trigger. Our action is going to be SureMembers, and that's going to be to add the user to the user group on our website that we just used. Go ahead and click continue. We need to add their email, so we're going to put @email, select the email address. We're going to choose an access group. Here it is, email subscriber. We'll click continue, and then you'll need to test your action, etc. So that's the foundation of the SureTriggers workflow for adding them. And the same would be true for the inverse, right? You would come in here and you would change this to be what happens, well, when a tag is removed, when a list is removed, when they unsubscribe, whatever triggers your email tool has, you would use those here. And then for this step, it would just be, instead of add them to the access group, it would simply be remove, right? It's pretty easy there. Let's quickly talk about logging in and accessing the content now that the users are inside of our products. So there's a couple of things I want to show you on the settings side, and then I want to walk through the mechanics of how that user logs in. So on the mechanics side here, we have a couple of options. We can go to the login customizer under SureMember settings, where we can change the login URL from our standard WP login or WP admin. We can change that to be custom. You can do that if you want to and create a custom login page. I will show the login experience for you in an incognito window to show you how that restriction comes up that we set up when we created our access group. But you can customize the login URL, do all kinds of settings here if you want to. This is if you actually want to have a login page. You can create login restrictions, limit the amount of times people can log in, or have active login, so no login sharing if you have a list where that matters. You can also set up redirect rules here for what happens when they log in, and then when they log out. So again, if you're using SureMembers, likely you shouldn't be using any other tools with it because there are conflicts with this type of thing. But if you're just using SureMembers to manage everything, these can be pretty handy if you use a login link that's like up in your navigation. If you're just going to have them log in directly from trying to access the content, let's take a look at that experience real quick. Now you can see the restriction message that we created when we created the access group, right? They can log in, click the login button, or they can access, subscribe to get access. If they click the login button, it doesn't take them to a page. It doesn't take them to anything that we've customized. It just says log in, and they can enter their email or username and their password. Now, this is really the only friction that you're going to run into with what we've set up so far. If they were not already an existing user on our website, if they didn't already have a password, they don't know what their password is. So as part of our onboarding process, we need to ensure that we're helping that user reset their password so that they don't just for the very first time come here and say, gee, I don't know what my password is. And then they're going to click forgot password, which is fine. They'll be taken to the page that we can rebrand here using our SureMember settings. And then they'll go through that, but they won't know to do that. So what I recommend, again, if this is going to be applicable to you and your members or your subscribers won't have a WordPress account already, I would say customize the login URL if that's okay with your setup. Do some customizations, add a custom logo, change the colors and the background, all that kind of stuff, make it your own, because they will see that when they do a password reset. What you can do is if we come back to our email templates, you can see the new user onboarding email that they're going to get. You can, under these variables here, include the password reset link. You can say, welcome subscriber to log in, click here. Rather than what we had initially set up to log in by clicking here, we can say you need to set a password. You need to set a password to access your content. Click here, or whatever you want to put, something like that. Then what's going to happen is the person's going to click this link and be taken to a page where they can reset their password. We can also customize the password reset email to make it a little bit more on brand or whatever we want to do there. The goal is just to make the user experience easy, right? Hey, subscriber, to get access to all the content you get as a subscriber to the such and such list, go ahead and set your password here. They click on it, they get taken to your branded login page, they enter their email, they change their password, they're good to go, then they can log in and access the content. However it makes sense inside of your flow for the content that you're protecting and the way that you're sending content and links to your members is going to depend on how you finesse this particular point of the setup. This is it. We don't need anything else in our tech stack. We're just using SureMembers and our email tool in order to get them access. All right, so that's it. That's how you create a email subscriber membership site experience using SureMembers, and as I showed you, just about any email tool that you want to use. This is a very easy way to add value to your email list that will help you grow and retain email subscribers.